A survey encompasses all aspects of the research process: design, construction, sampling method, data collection, and response analysis. A questionnaire is a tool used for a survey and is a set of questions with a choice of answers. Surveys are versatile, allow you to segment your data, and depending on the implementation, can be inexpensive. A problem with surveys is that it can be easy to think that the statistical analysis of your results is more powerful than it is. A good metaphor for the limits of statistics is a Thanksgiving Day turkey. A turkey is fed for 1,000 days. Every day confirms to its statistical department that the human race cares about its welfare with increased statistical significance. On the 1,001st day, the turkey has a surprise. The point is that we can't always predict the future based on past events. This isn't meant as a slight on statistics as a field. Statisticians will agree with this. Your survey likely will not have accounted for all possible variables. As with any elicitation technique, surveys have some disadvantages in that the results can be affected by bias, the intentional or unintentional favoring of one result, outcome, conclusion, etc. over another. Bias can be introduced into your survey by poor survey design, questions, responses, response type, flow, etc., poor survey administration, overall response and abandonment rates, sample makeup, and respondent apathy, just to name a few. Since the issuer of the survey isn't present when the questionnaire is being filled out by the stakeholder, stakeholders can forget to fill questionnaires out in part or altogether. If the requirements are a political issue for the company and there are internal stakeholders, you could potentially face a ballot stuffing situation where respondents answer multiple times to skew the responses. Surveys are the preferred elicitation technique when faced with a large number of stakeholders or when stakeholders are geographically dispersed and you need to gather the same information from them. Surveys can also be used to gather requirements anonymously. A practical application is as follows: using it to gather information on stakeholders' reactions to existing systems or proposed requirements. If you do have a large amount of stakeholders, to begin implementing your survey, you need to know the size of the target population that you are trying to learn about. In other words, you don't need to survey all members of the target population. Rather, you are trying to make inference about the target population based on a sample or a random selection of respondents from the target population. A sample is composed of customers, key stakeholders, users of an application, a particular age, or a special needs demographic. Your sampling method should ensure that the number of people sampled is statistically significant for this target population. Otherwise, your data is not representative of the target population. Consult a statistician if needed to determine if your sample is statistically significant. Next, you need to determine what you want to know from the survey. Remember that the how of everything is up to the engineers. Your job is to know what the requirements of the software are, not how they are implemented. You will need the answer to questions such as: what are the objectives? What media will be used? Who will it be sent to? How long will be given to respond? What will you do with non-responders? Who will compile and analyze the data? Determine if the survey will be focused or free. Focused surveys prevent free respondents, people that weren't originally sent the survey, from responding. After you know what you need to learn from the survey, it's time to construct your questionnaire. After a short paragraph explaining the purpose of the survey, ask no more than 7 to 12 questions to prevent excessive survey abandonment. In general, limit the use of open-ended questions for the same reason. Multiple choice and select all that apply are much better question types. Some examples of what questions to ask are: how will you use this feature? Where would the user access this feature? When will this feature be used? What needs to happen next? Pick a method and a medium to distribute and present the survey with. Mail surveys are a low-cost method that use a printed paper survey that is mailed to the respondent, allowing them time to think about their answers and respond at their own convenience, which is also why the response rate is the lowest of all the methods. In this method, the completed survey is returned by the respondent via mail. returned by the respondent via mail. Additional steps must be taken to get these hard copy responses entered into an application for processing, e.g., scanning, data entry, etc. Face-to-face interviews use an interviewer who physically meets with a participant in a neutral location, public space, the participant's home, etc., and is often used where the target population is not too large. This method enables the trained interviewer to interpret a respondent's reactions and provide or obtain additional information. However, that same personal touch could introduce interviewer bias, replace true responses with socially acceptable ones, and enable interviewers working on commission to submit multiple surveys and/or manipulate the data to benefit them and skew your results. Additional expenses may occur if interviewers must be hired and trained. Telephone surveys can also be a cost-effective method depending on local and long-distance rates. In my view, the best free tool out there is Google Forms. Google is a well-known company and users are likely to feel safe from malware while using this software. The forms are highly customizable and easy to edit. You can prevent users from submitting the forms until all questions are answered, which adds an element of control. Distribution can be done via email, direct messaging, anything that can share your form's URL. After selecting a presentation and distribution method, at this point in the survey creation, you need to beta test. Beta testing means to test out a survey on a small group representative of the stakeholders before finally sending the survey to your target population sample. It is needed because it is not always easy to anticipate how the responders will construe the questions. Here you can see what the responses page looks like in Google Forms. If you click here, Google Forms creates a spreadsheet with your responses. Each respondent's answers are on a single row, with each column corresponding to the question asked. This spreadsheet can be used for more rigorous statistical analysis. You can use this spreadsheet to segment the data by demographics, which can help you search for correlations between types of responses. For example, do female stakeholders feel differently about the requirements than men? Does a stakeholder with a certain level of income care about the requirements the same way as someone else with a higher or lower income? I created a survey using Google Forms to find out more about what the stakeholders want for the class project Find People in Your Area application. Most respondents to my survey said that the application would maybe fill a need that they have and that they don't currently use a technology that fills this need. Respondents overwhelmingly said they would prefer to use the application on a smartphone over a desktop or laptop computer, and that they would use the application on weekends instead of weekdays. The majority of respondents said that they would use the application for meetups for miscellaneous hobbies instead of sports or art projects. A survey is a powerful elicitation tool that can be used at the start of a project for continuous process and product improvement to launch new products and features, help change the business culture, and communicate across a spectrum of diverse customers and user communities.